Hello there, this is teacher Marco from Phuket PALS, and today I'd like to walk you through the GED Reasoning Through Language Arts test. We will try to answer some questions today. Um, I'll try to assist you in understanding um, the extended response part of the RLA test as well. So let's begin. So the GED Reasoning Through Language Arts test will try to evaluate your reading and writing skills. You will have 150 minutes and about 60 questions. This includes an essay, and all of which will require you to answer questions based on single passages and on passages that are paired together. So reading and thinking skills. Also, you will have to review written text and select words and phrases so that the final product is written correctly. So this is your language skills. And also, lastly, you will compose an extended response or an essay to a writing prompt based on reading one or two passages or a passage accompanied by a graphic. And this will, of course, check your writing skills. So again, all of which will measure your understanding in reading and logical thinking, also your grammar skills, and also your writing skills. Okay. So a while back I mentioned about 60 questions. Well, it really changes from time to time. There's no specific number of questions. So that's why it says here approximately 20 to 24 questions. By the way, here's the sections of your reasoning through language arts test. So it's divided into 3 sections and a break. And as you notice here, part 1 and part 3 are labeled as multiple choice. Okay. So what sort of questions might you have for part 1 and part 3? Okay. Well, there will be a lot of passages involved, and of course for part 1 and part 2 it will measure your reading skills and also your knowledge about the English language, so grammar and standard English. Okay, so today I will not give you 60 questions because it would take us a lot of time to complete that. No? So like what I said a while back, it's 150 minutes and we don't want that. I mean, I know you won't be able to concentrate for the next 2 hours if we will try to answer the exact number of questions, or approximately around 60 questions. So today I just prepared half of it, a combination of reading questions and also grammar questions. Okay, so I prepared around 32 questions, and later on we will try to dissect what is an RLA extended response or what is an RLA essay. I'll show you a very short technique that, or simple technique that you might use. All right, so let's start with the questions. I'll try to share to you the passage first. I'll read the passage for you, and then later on we'll do the questions maybe two questions or three questions at a time, just so I can discuss it. All right, so let's begin with the first passage. Okay, so questions 1 to 5 are based on the following text. So let me read this for you. Americans spend an amazing $12 billion annually on tipping waiters and waitresses for serving meals. Many servers are dependent on tips because they are not paid a living wage. Most people know that, so they automatically leave 15 to 20% of the cost of the meal as a tip, even though most diners believe that their tipping is related to good service. However, researchers disagree. They will find that the amount of the tip is sometimes more the result of the diner's insecure ego than the quality of service. In fact, much of the tipping in this country is explained by three psychological reasons, none of it related to either the bill or the service. The real reason are that the customer wants to please the waiter, needs to feel generous, or will give in to social pressure. Okay, now on your real test, of course, you won't be able to, have the luxury to read a certain passage, um, just as how slow I read it. Okay, but of course, I still suggest you to read the passage before approaching the questions. Many of some tutorials or maybe some books will tell you to look at the questions first, but I highly suggest you to read the passage first, just for you to have a gist of um, what is being talked about. All right, so have some time. Of course, you will be able to practice your reading speed um, just by taking these questions and these kinds of questions every now and then and on a daily basis. I advise, because you'll get used to reading these kinds of passages that once you see one, it's so easy to know which part you will read first or which lines to focus on. So there you go. So the passage is about tipping, right? So tipping is the manner of giving a certain amount to your waiter or waitress after you get your bill. Okay, so let's take a look at the questions. By the way, you might notice that there are some problems here on this passage, like spelling problems or grammatical problems, grammatical errors, but that's okay. That's what you are here for. That's your task. That's your purpose in the GED test, to find out, these particular errors and to fix them. Okay. So let's take a look at question number 1 and number 2. Which correction should be made to sentence 3? So this is sentence number 3. Most people know that, so they automatically leave 15 to 20% of the cost of the meal as a tip. What do you think is wrong with this sentence? Give you a few seconds to think about it. Like what I said a while back, let's answer 2 questions at a time. Okay, I think that's a simple question. Now let's go with question number 2. Which is the best way to write the underlined portion of sentence 4 and 5? I think it's suggesting service, However, researchers, so this might be the underlined part. So I just had some typographical error there. I wasn't able to show you the underlined part, but it starts from service until researchers. Okay. So even though most diners believe that tipping is related to good service, however, researchers disagree. There's something off with the two questions. And my first tip for this video is listen to yourself. You know, there are some times where you won't be able to explain the answers with a specific rule or specific grammar rule, but because of you being so exposed with the English language, deep inside your head, you know what the correct answer is, and try to stick with this instinct. Try to stick with that particular answer that your mind is or your head is trying to dictate to you. So um, there might be times where you don't know the theory behind it, but don't worry about it. You know, every English speaker or every English learner started with that kind of skill. They just felt that it's good. It sounds good. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at the answers. There you go. So for number one, most people know, so it's the spelling. So this answer choice, letter A, is a homonym error. So homonyms are words that have the same sound, but they have different meaning. So the word know means understand, which makes sense in this sentence. Most people know or understand, so that's the correct answer. Now for question number two, which is the best way to write the underlined portion of sentence 4 and 5? All right. So it's the transition between service, however, and researchers. So there's something that sounds off, you know? So the best answer here is letter B. Why letter B? Because this choice connects a dependent clause and an independent clause. It's trying to form a complex sentence, okay? And however, there is not a good option. And we already have the word even though here. So if we will use however, it's too redundant. Okay, so the best option here is letter B. Okay, why not but, teacher? We have a transition word here, which is even though. Okay, so we cannot use that, and of course we cannot put a full stop because we're trying to connect a dependent clause. All right. So letter B is the correct answer. Now let's go with question number 3. Which correction should be made to sentence 6? They will find that the amount of the tip is sometimes more the result of the diner's insecure ego than the quality of the service. I want you to look into it. I'll give you a few seconds. And for question number 4, which correction should be made to sentence number 7? In fact, much of the tipping in this country is explained by 3 psychological reasons. None of it is related to either the bill or the service. Okay, let's move on to the answers. There you go. Now, for question number 3, they will find that that the amount of tip is sometimes the result of the diner's insecure ego than the quality of service. Okay. Why? Why found, not will? The verb should be in past tense, not future tense. Because we want to match the tense of the verb in the rest of the paragraph. Okay. All right. So they found that the amount of tip is sometimes more the result of the diner's insecure ego than the quality of service. Okay, we're talking about an event that happened already. So letter B is the best option. Number 4, it to them. None of it related to either the bill or the service. We're talking about 3 psychological reasons. Okay, the pronoun does not agree in the number with its antecedent reasons, right? So it should be changed to a plural pronoun. All right, so it is not applicable here. We're talking about 3 psychological reasons. All right, let's move on. Let's go to question number 5. Okay, which is the best way to write the underlined portion of the sentence? So I wasn't able to forget this. The real reason are that the customer wants to please the waiter, needs to feel generous, or will give into social pressure. Now, here's a tip. For lists like this, like you have 3 things that are being discussed, 3 or more, I suggest you study more or read more about parallel structure. And I will tell you later what is parallel structure once you choose your answer for this. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, let's take a look at the answer. Ooh, there you go. Wants to please the waiter, needs to feel generous, or gives in to social pressure. What did you notice? So, if we're talking about the parallel structure, we should consider the tense and the form of verbs that were used in the list. So if we go back to sentence number 8 here on top, it says here, wants to please, needs to feel, give in, will give in. So this one is off. It's future tense, while the other verbs here are all in present tense. So what you want to do is to make sure that you're using the proper tense in a uniform manner. That's what we mean by using a parallel structure, sentence structure. Okay? All right, let's move on. Question number 6. Oh, yeah, another passage here. So, from the title, we know that this is a manual. All right, let's take a look. Business training manual. Let me read it for you. On most days, you will be the only bank employee whom customers meet. Customers will depend on your knowledge and your ability to communicate. Your objective must be to make a good impression through courtesy, accuracy, and promptness. As a teller, you have an excellent opportunity to make customers glad that they came to your bank. Experts say that the first 20 seconds of a customer's transaction set the tone for the whole transaction. Therefore, making a favorable first impression can have a lasting and positive effect on customers' relationship. The basic guideline in creating a favorable impression is to treat each customer as you would like to be treated. When a customer approaches you, stop what you are doing as soon as possible, look at him or her, smile and say hello. Generally, people respond favorably to a warm, friendly greeting and will probably smile back. If a customer approaches you while you are doing paperwork, smile and tell the customer, "I'll be with you in a moment." Customers are usually patient about waiting if you have acknowledged their presence first. Use the customer's name when possible. If you don't know or can't remember a person's name, look for it in the documents you are handling. The name may appear in a check, passbook, deposit slip, or other document you are given during the transaction. If you're unsure of the pronunciation of a name, say to the customer, "I'm not sure of how to pronounce your last name. Would you mind pronouncing it for me?" Using names is important because it tells customer you recognize them as individuals. And the more often you use a name, the easier it will be to remember it when the customer returns another day. As you serve a customer, focus your attention on that person. Refrain from making comments to those working near you unless you need assistance. Your behavior will demonstrate to customers that you make serving them your number one priority. From the Institute of Financial Education. Basically, this is an informative passage that shows how a bank teller should do his or her work, right? So as you notice, this is written well compared to the first one. So if you notice, most of the questions in the first five uh, questions are focused on your grammatical skills. But now I'm assuming that this is going to be testing us for our reading and comprehension skills. Okay? So let's take a look at the questions of them. Question 6. According to the passage, why are the first 20 seconds of a transaction between a teller and a customer is so important? Okay, let's go back to the passage because I know that that's one of your skill. You go back to the passage, go back and forth. So the question was, why are the first 20 seconds so important? Let's take a look at a part where 20 seconds was mentioned. The first 20 seconds of a customer's transaction set the tone for the whole transaction. There you go. That's the phrase that contains the 20 second. That's a tip that I can give you. Try to find keywords. Okay, let's go back to the choices and I'll give you a few seconds to decide which one is the correct answer. Next one. Let's go to question number 7. Oh, yeah, 7. Based on paragraph 1, what conclusion can you draw about the job of a bank teller? So paragraph 1, I'll give you a glimpse of paragraph 1 again. On most days, you will be the only bank employee whom customers need. Customers will depend on your knowledge and your ability to communicate. Your objective must be to make a good impression through courtesy, accuracy, and promptness. Mm-hmm. So let's go back to the choices here. And question number 8. What is the writer's unstated assumption about customers? So, meaning, what is something that is not written in the passage that the writer might think of customers? Okay, so when you read a passage, try to feel the gist or try to check what the author is really writing for or writing about. These are pretty easy questions as long as you read and understand the passage. And I want you to take your time, you know. I know that you are pressured by time, but the thing is that when you take the test, as long as you come there and you arrive in the test center prepared and calm, I'm pretty sure you will be able to handle the questions. Don't overthink and just try to go back and forth in the passage. All right, so let's take a look at the answers. So there, number 1, if we go back to the passage, it says there, the tone. First 20 seconds to set the tone. So the correct answer there in number 6 is letter C. Tone of the teller-customer relationship is determined within that time period. Okay, what can we say about paragraph 1? What can we conclude? The teller's job is an important role in a bank. Yes, it says there, if on most days the teller is the only bank employee, he or she has the important role of making a favorable impression. So look for keywords, look for similar words, but don't just based on that. Some students will just try to select this option because they have similar words, but that's not the point. Okay. Next one. Question 8. What is the writer's unstated assumption about customers? Of course, the customers will stay loyal to a bank if they are treated well. If you notice, the writer's focus on keeping customers satisfied and making a favorable impression shows an underlying assumption that if you treat customers well, they will ensure a continued relationship with the bank. Have you noticed before, like, if you know the name, like the writer was saying, if you know the name of the customer, and through time, it will come natural and the teller will be able to know the name already. So they want loyalty, they want customers coming back to their bank. So that's what we can assume from what the writer is writing. Okay? Number 9 and 10. Based on the details of the passage, what is the author's main purpose? What do you think? Let's go back. What is the document? It's a manual, right? It's a teller's manual. So is it to recruit new bank tellers? B, to help tellers understand their job? C, to demonstrate the need for accurate tellers? D, to explain how tellers should treat customers. What do you think? And where is it focused on? Is it focused more on the bank or the teller or the customer? Think about that. And question number 10, On the basis of information in the manual, what should a teller do if another teller begins trying, begins talking to him or her during a customer transaction? So let's go back to that part. Refrain from making comments to those working near you unless you need assistance. So, with that being said, let's go back to the choices. All right, there you go. I'll give you a few seconds. So, let's take a look. There you go. So the main purpose of this passage is to explain how tellers should treat customers. Not to understand their job, because we all know that tellers, they know what their job is. They know, they've studied in a university. The manual, the manual itself is not to document to recruit new bank tellers. Demonstrate the need for accurate tellers? No. Compassion cannot, and being nice to people cannot be taught. Okay? So, the training manual provides examples of interaction between teller and customer. And it also gives reasons why certain behaviors are important. Because the writer's main purpose is to explain how tellers should treat customers, right? All right, number 10. I showed you the clue a while back, so I'm pretty sure you were able to answer this correctly. So if someone is, on the basis of information, what should a teller do if another teller begins talking to him or her during a customer transaction? Of course, ask the teller to wait, refrain from talking to people or speaking with others working nearby. All right, so tellers should make their customers feel that serving them is their number one priority. That is mentioned in the manual. So, letter A is the correct answer. All right, let's move on with this new passage for questions 11 to 15. Okay. All right, so as we can see here, this one is a letter. Miss Carmen Velez, Carmen's Cafe, 55 Forney Road, Port Huron, Ohio, 27615. Okay. Dear Ms. Velez, we at Financial Software Incorporated are excited to announce that Tax Aid, our new software for small businesses, will be available late next year. It will greatly simplify tax time for small business owners like yourself. In the meantime, we are offering 100 small businesses the opportunity to pilot this software. We would like to extend this opportunity to Carmen's Cafe to offer you the chance to participate in the pilot program. We do request that you sign a consent agreement. Once the consent from between Financial Software and you have been signed, we will provide you with the free software, on-site training, and all support materials. Latonia McCoy, our marketing manager, will be in contact with you to discuss your interest in this project. Having questions before that time, I can be reached at 877-555-2222. Sincerely, Beatrice Bliss, Director of Marketing. So this is a letter trying to offer someone to, trying to invite an establishment to use a pilot software. I mean, a software for small businesses. So interesting. And upon seeing it, we notice that there are some grammatical errors right away. So I'm assuming this is a different kind of, a different set of questions focusing on your grammatical skills. So let's start. Question 11. Which correction should be made to sentence 1? We at Financial Software Incorporated are excited to announce that Tax Aid, our new software for small businesses, will be available late next year. What do you think should be added there or replaced? Mm-hmm. Try to read it in a proper pace, and I think you will be able to get the answer correctly. Next, which correction should be made to sentence 4? We would like to extend this opportunity to Carmen's Cafe to offer you the chance, to participate in the pilot program. It's a sentence that feels strange. There's too much words in it. So let's see what you can do with sentence 4. Give you a few seconds, then let's answer it. Okay, let's take a look at the answers. So yeah, like what I said a while back, try to read it in proper pace and you will notice that you would need a comma there. Okay, so in question 11, the phrase, our new software for small business is an appositive. It's describing tax aid, right? It's describing tax aid. What is an appositive? Basically, it's something that describes, it serves like a modifier, something that describes another word. So it's describing tax aid, our new software. What is the new software? It's tax aid. So there you go. So you would need a comma before and after the phrase, okay? So since we have our new software for small businesses, there's a comma after that, but there's no comma after tax aid. So we need to insert a comma there. And question 12, it's too much. The phrase to offer you the chance is unnecessary because it repeats the same idea as like this one, extend this opportunity is the same as offer you the chance, right? It's too redundant. It's too much. So we remove offer the chance and just stick with extend this opportunity. Right? Let's move on. Okay, here you go. Which correction should be made in sentence 6? Once the consent form between Financial Software and you have been signed, we will provide you with free software, on-site training, and all support materials. Okay. All right. I hope that you get the correct answer. Now let me read question 14. Which correction should be made to sentence 7? Latonya McCoy, our marketing manager, will be in contact with you to discuss your interest in this project. Okay. Both of these are pretty simple questions, so I wish that you have selected the correct option here. Okay, shall we check it? By the way, if the time is not enough, the time that I am giving you is not enough, I think it's better that you pause this video and try to think about it first, okay? As a matter of fact, why don't you do that? I'll try to speed up and every question, every after I read a question or post a question, you can pause, you can click on the plus button on your screen and just think about it before I hit on the next slide. Okay, so question 13. If we take a look at this one, the singular verb has agrees with the singular subject form. What are we talking about here? Take a look at this. Once the constant form, it's singular, between financial software and you, has. We're talking about one constant form here. So it should be has. The confusing part here is that financial software and you, but that's not the subject. These are distractors. We're talking about the constant form. So the correct answer here is A. Question number 14. Which correction should be made to sentence 7? There you go. Marketing managers should be in small letter. Why? Because that's the rule. We don't capitalize position or job description if they come after the name of the person. However, if it's placed before the name of a person, we can capitalize that. Okay, that's the rule. Okay? Alright, so if we're saying like Dr. Latonia McCoy, yes, we capitalize the word doctor. But if it comes after, then we don't capitalize that. Those are some things that you should work on. Capitalization rules, subject-verb agreement. These are commonly targeted skills in your GED RLA exam. So I hope that you focus on those. Now let's go to another question, question 15. And if you need some break, by the way, you can stop after question 15. You can pause and you can eat something, stand up. I'm pretty sure you won't be able to complete this in one sitting. So please, just take your time. Just hit on the plus button and get something to eat. All right. Which is the best way to write the underlined portion of the sentence? Having questions before that time, I can be reached at 877-555-2222. So with this, I'm pretty sure you can do your basic technique of trying to substitute the options that we have and, have a feel which one sounds really good. All right? That's one technique that you can use. Yep. So there. Let me explain the answer then. The answer is letter D. Why? Have you ever heard about dangling modifiers? So having questions before that time. Who? Is it the writer? That is a dangling modifier, meaning the underlined portion here is called a modifier, but it doesn't contain the proper subject, okay? So it's better to say if you have questions before that time, I can be reached. Yeah, because it's so confusing if we say having questions before that time. Who has questions? Is it the writer? I don't think so. He's the one that's supposed to be asked with some questions. So you, since you're the reader, you're the one that might have some questions, right? So that is called a dangling modifier. So we have a modifier without a subject, all right? Or without a noun that is being modified. That's why it's called dangling, because it's hanging. It's no use. It doesn't have that purpose that we're looking for. There's nothing to be modified. All right. So we've reached halfway. All right. So let's continue. Now, let's try to read this passage for questions 16 to 22. Um, I believe this one is more on reading focus. So I want you to take a look at the details, especially the setting, the tone, um, the characters. That's what you have to keep in mind once you read um, some fiction materials. Okay, check the characters, the setting, the tone, the theme. All right, all of those are essential um, when reading these kinds of materials. So let's start. The passage is entitled. The passage is titled "The Dinner Party" by Mona Gardner. The country is India. A colonial official and his wife are uh, giving a large dinner party. They are seated with their guests, army officers and government attaches and their wives, and a visiting American naturalist in their spacious dining room, which was a bare marble floor, open rafters, and wide glass doors opening into a veranda. A spirited discussion springs up between a young girl who insists that women have outgrown the jumping on a chair at the side of a house, a side of a mouse era, and a colonel who says that they haven't. So, as you can see here, this particular story may have happened during the late 19th century or probably early 20th century, because we're talking about colonial India. Okay? All right. The American. Okay, wait. A woman's unfailing reaction in any crisis, the colonel says, is to scream. And while a man may feel like it, he has that ounce more of nerve control than a woman has. And that last ounce is what counts. The American does not join in the argument, but watches the other guests. Now take a look at this. Take a look at the character of the American, okay? As he looks, he sees a strange expression come over the face of the hostess. She is staring straight ahead, her muscles contracting slightly with a slight gesture. She summons the native boy standing behind her chair and whispers to him. The boy's eyes widen. He quickly leaves the room. Of the guests, none except the American notices this or sees the boy place a bowl of milk on the veranda just outside the open doors. The American comes to with a start. In India, a milk in a bowl means only one thing: bait for snake. He realizes there must be a cobra in the room. He looks up at the rafters, the likeliest place, but they are bare. 3 corners of the room are empty, and in the fourth, the servants are waiting to serve the next course. There is only one place left, under the table. His first impulse is to jump back and warn the others, but he knows the commotion would frighten the cobra into striking. He speaks quickly, the tone of his voice so arresting that it sobers everyone. I want to know just what control everyone at this table has. I will count to 300, that's 5 minutes, and not one of you is to move a muscle. Those who move will forfeit 50 rupees. Ready? The 20 people sit like stone images while he counts. He is saying 280 when out of the corner of his eye he sees the cobra emerge and make for the bowl of milk. Screams ring out as he jumps to slam the veranda doors safely shut. "You were right, Colonel," the host exclaims. "A man has just shown us an example of perfect control." "Just a minute," the American says, turning to his hostess. "Miss Wines, how did you know that Cobra was in the room?" A faint smile lights up the woman's face as she replies, "Because it was crawling across my foot." What a very interesting story. I hope that you were able to somehow understand or was amused by this amazing story. So, again, like what I said, you must check out the theme, the setting, the characters, and all those tiny details within the story. Okay, the sequence. Those are the things that you have to remember when tackling questions related to your reading skills. So let's proceed with the questions. Let's take a look at questions 16 and 17. I want you to look at it. I'm going to read it and you can pause the screen. And then later on, we can discuss the answer. Question number 16. How is the game proposed by the American significant to the story's plot development? And question 17. Which of these events in the story happens first? I want you to pause your screen and have a minute to think about these questions. Now let's proceed. Here it goes. How is the game proposed by the American significant to the story's plot development? Meaning, what is the importance of the action of the American? So, A, it provides a distraction to keep people safe. So the American was trying to do that to keep the people safe, right? And in question 17, which of the events in the story happens first? A while back, I told you to take note of the sequence of events. It might be confusing that the situation of Mrs. Wines was mentioned in the later part of the text, but you should take note that technically that happened first because the snake crawled across Miss Wines' foot. That's why she called the boy to put some milk on the center of the veranda. So, alright, you have to use your common sense, your logic, and, analyze the sequence of events. The text might be tricky, but that's part of it. And for me, that's a challenge, and that excites me, these little challenges. So my advice is for you to take note of all the choices. Don't rush into answering and, clicking on just one choice. Try to read all the choices. Weigh all the options. Don't rush. Okay, let's proceed with questions 18 and question 19. Let me read the questions, then you can pause again. In paragraph 9, why does the author describe the dinner guest as dinner guest as stone images? And question 19, which statement best describes the theme of the dinner party? Now, theme means the lesson. What is the lesson that you have learned in the story? All right. So, theme might be, you might be thinking of a different meaning of theme, But when we're talking about the context of your reading skills and reasoning through language arts, theme means the lesson that you have learned. Okay? All right, so I'll give you a few seconds. Pause your screens. All right, let's go with the answers. Of course, in question number 18, when we say stone images, it means that the guests were not moving. It means to illustrate the stillness of the guests. Okay? And question number 19, what is the lesson that we try to learn, that we have learned in this passage? Of course, men and women are equally capable to responding locally to crisis. Remember, this this happened during colonial India, and as we all know, women are looked down upon. All right, and but this story teaches us that Mrs. Wines proves otherwise, that she was able to control her emotion. She was able to think under pressure. All right. So let's proceed with question number 20, 21, and 22. Okay. Number 20. Why do the details in this story suggest? What do the details in the story suggest about the American character? 21, based on the details of the setting, which is the time and place, which of the following descriptions best conveys the mood of the story? Meaning based on the setting, based on the time and place. What is the mood that is being described or that is being conveyed? All right. And by the way, mood is how the reader feels based on the setting of a story. Okay? And question number 22, in paragraph 2, what does the phrase spirited discussion imply or suggest? Okay, now let me just show first paragraph 2 in the passage. You can pause and then you can take a look at this particular vocabulary here, spirited discussion. Once you're done, I'll bring you back. Okay, once you're done, I'll bring you back to the question. And you can also pause your screen for you to have a few minutes to think about the 3 questions. Okay, there you go. Okay, let's proceed. Let's take a look at the answers. So, how can we describe the character of the Americans? So, C is the best option here. Why? Because the American's profession, he's a naturalist. So basically it's one that requires making detailed observations, which is what the character is doing in. Like that one is being shown in the further parts of the passage, the latter part of the passage. So there, it's letter C. He is observant and logical. And in number 21, the answer is C. Okay, it's not suspenseful because, you know, the setting, the time and place is not really conveying that. Maybe the situation conveys that, but it's not the setting. Warm and intimate. There's a heated discussion, so it's not intimate, right? Formal, but comfortable. Yeah, it's formal. It's there's a lot of um, well-known guests. All right, so the description is showing elegance in the dining room with like upper class guests assembled for a large dinner party, and that is tended by servants, so that creates a feeling of formality. The atmosphere is comfortable as the guests join in a spirited discussion. And basically, they feel comfortable with each other. Quiet, no, because there's a discussion happening. It's not calm as well, and it's not relaxed. So, always try to weigh your options. So, letter C is the best answer here. Question number 22. Spirited discussion. The information in the paragraph reveals that the girl is insistent on certain belief, while the colonel has an opposing belief. So, spirited discussion means a disagreement. All right. Let's move on to another passage here. I believe this is more on the grammar focus. Let's read it. Fires should be prevented because they are bad. More than 2,500 Americans die in home fires every year. But this number can be greatly reduced if people follow a few safety rules. The most important step is installing smoke detectors near bedrooms and on every level of the home. A smoke detector's batteries should be checked monthly and changed twice a year. In the kitchen, don't leave food untended on the stove or allow gas to build up or allow grease to build up. In the living room, don't run electrical cords under rugs or in high traffic areas. In the bedroom, don't leave heaters on, not while you sleep. A few safety precautions can reduce injuries and property damage. More importantly, they will save lives. All right, let's move on to the questions. Which is 23? Which is the best way to write the underlined portion of sentence 1? Fires should be prevented because they are bad. So, take a look at that question and let me read question number 24. Which correction should be made to sentence 2? More than 2,500 Americans die in home fires every year. This number can be greatly reduced if people follow a few safety rules. Now pause your screens and have a few minutes to think about the questions. Let's proceed. Question number 23, the answer is letter D. Why? Because this choice includes specific details and reasons. If you will have an option that provides you with a lot of details and reasons, then choose that option. Okay? Now, 24, the answer is letter B. Americans is a proper noun and it should be capitalized. All right? So it's a nationality. So all nationalities should be capitalized. That's a capitalization rule that you should keep in mind. Right, let's proceed. Let's do 3 questions. 25. Let's take a look at sentence 4 and see what needs to be corrected. The smoke detector's batteries should be checked monthly and changed twice a year. And let's take a look at the underlined portion of sentences 7 and 8 for question number 26. In the bedroom, don't leave heaters on, not while you sleep. And Number 27. Let's take a look at the underlined portion of sentences 9 and 10. So, a few safety precautions can reduce injuries and property damage. More importantly, they will save lives. Now pause your screen and have a few minutes to think about the questions. Okay, let's proceed. Now in question number 25, the correct answer is A, because the word detectors with an apostrophe S is a possessive noun, showing that the batteries belong to the item. All right, so the detectors, batteries. So we need a possessive noun here. All right, so letter A is the best option. And 26, the correct answer is letter D. Why? Because this choice combines two fragments to form a complete sentence, right? We don't need a comma here. All right. We don't need a comma there. We don't need a full stop because that one is a fragment. We don't need a conjunction like and because it's not required by the sentence. Now 27. Okay. The correct option is letter C. Why? Because this is the correct way to join two independent clauses. This is what we call as compound sentence. Both of them are independent, so what do we need for independent clauses in order to join them, to make them a compound sentence? We need a conjunction. All right, fanboys. Okay. So the best option that we have there is letter C. Okay, let's have one last passage, and then we'll go with the extended response. All right. So let me read the passage for questions 28 to 32. Food manufacturers work hard to get people to buy their products. Consumers must be aware of the techniques used to influence their decisions. Product packaging and strategic marketing helps food companies sell products and increase their profits. Did you know that food of all kinds becomes more expensive the more it is processed? To make processed food more appealing, companies create a huge variety of products and place them in colorful, attractive packaging. In addition, food manufacturers pay to have their products displayed at eye level on store shelves. While more healthful products may be placed on high or low shelves, processed foods are easy to reach. Also, stores will be placing staple foods, such as milk, at the back of the store to encourage you to pick up other items on your way to the dairy case. Now, I've already noticed a lot of problems, grammatical errors in there. So I bet that this passage is focusing on your grammar skills. So let's proceed with the questions. 28. Which is the best way to write the underlined portion? Sentences 1 and 2. Food manufacturers work hard to get people to buy their products. Consumers must be aware of techniques used to influence their decisions. Now with that, you already know that something is off. It sounds off. Now, let's go with 29. Sentence 3. Product packaging and strategic marketing helps food companies sell products and increase their profits. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to think about this. Please pause your screens. Okay, let's proceed with the answers. Now, for question number 28, the correct option is C. Why? Because this choice adds a transition at the beginning of sentence 2. Why? To show that it is connected to sentence 1. All right? So we need a transition word here, and therefore is the best option that we have. Now, in question number 29, it has something to do with the subject verb agreement. So this sentence is a compound subject, so the verb should be plural. All right? Product packaging and strategic marketing. We have two subjects in there. So it means the verb must not contain an S. So the best option is letter A. Now let's take a look at these three questions. Question number 30. There's something to be made, like which correction should be made to sentence 4? Did you know that food of all kinds becomes more expensive the more it is processed? Take note of the tone, how I read it. Sentence 7 in question 31. What is the best way to write the underlined portion? I believe the underlined portion here is starting on the word shelves and ending with the word processed. So I wasn't able to underline those when I was typing in this PowerPoint presentation. So yeah, I do apologize for that. Okay, so while more helpful products may be placed on high or low shelves, processed foods are easily to reach. I want you to read that sentence for a couple of times, and you will understand what's the best option to do. And in sentence 8, also, stores will be placing staple foods such as milk at the back of the store to encourage you to pick up other items on your way to the dairy case. So what do you think should be the correction on sentence 8? So try to understand the questions properly and pause your screen and have a few minutes to think about it. Okay, let's proceed. Let's go to question number 30. The best option there is letter D. Why? Because this is a question. This sentence asks a question, so the correct punctuation is a question mark. How about in 31? Why B? Because the dependent clause at the beginning of this sentence should be followed by a comma. Simple as that. And in question number 32, the verbs in this sentence should be in present tense. All right. If it's like a practice that you do regularly, if it's a routine, if it's something that is done regularly, then it should be in simple present tense. All right, so the best option is letter B. There you go for our multiple choice questions. Now, if you need some time to rest, I suggest you pause your screens and have at least 10 minutes or 5 minutes to grab something before we continue with your extended response. All right. So let me proceed with the screen for extended response. Now, I suggest you all try to go to this link for you to download the PDF copy of the extended response prompt. It's free, you can download it. I'll have this link on the description box below. So you can try to just click on it. So what is an extended response prompt? Basically, it's composed of either one long article or two articles, which shows two opposing views, and it will show you the essay prompt itself will show you instructions on what to do for your essay. All right. So let me show that to you. Let me go to another screen. Here you go. So this is our extended response prompt. As you can see, we have two articles here. We'll call it source one. This one is the first source. It's entitled "The Case Against Banning Chocolate Milk." And the second source is "Chocolate Milk in Schools, Should It Be Banned?" Okay, so both of these articles, it's expected that they have two opposing views. About what? About chocolate milk in schools. Okay, so the other one might oppose banning chocolate milk in schools, while the other one might support it or might be an advocate about it. Okay, but this is the exact prompt. Now, I suggest when you start your extended response portion or part 2 of your RLA test, go right away to the writing prompt. It's your instruction. It's something that you should, set your mind before you read the sources. So let's read the writing prompt. Read both articles about the issue of banning chocolate milk in schools. Compose an essay that analyzes, I want you to highlight that, analyzes and evaluates both positions describing the articles and determine which position is best supported. Use evidence from both articles to support your response. So it's not really you trying to choose which one you agree. That doesn't matter. Your job here is to analyze and evaluate both positions to check which one is better supported. Okay, so that's what your essay should contain. I'm gonna teach you a very simple technique on how to do this. For the meantime, okay, let me see if I can do a full screen here. For the meantime, if you can download the PDF file, I'm gonna leave this in the screen. You can pause it while you read on this two sources, two articles. So I'm gonna stay quiet for a while. You can pause your screen. This is the first page containing the first part of containing the whole first source and a portion of the second source. Now pause your screen before I move to the next page. There you go. Now this is the second part. Read it properly. That's it. Okay, now let's go with the technique on how you will handle this extended response. So I have this technique which I call carbs. Okay, this one, let's start on this part. So CARBS stands for currency, authority, relevance, no bias, and specificity. Meaning, is the argument current, or is the evidence that they are using, is it current? Is it up to date? Okay, that's up to date. It's kind of hard to write using the mouse, but yeah, up to date. Authority, we have to take a look at the source of the information, or the source of the research or the evidence. Does it have the proper authority? All right. Also, take a look at the writers. Who is KJ Dell'Antonia? Who is she? Well, who is the second writer? What's her name? Yeah, Catherine Henderson. Does she have the proper authority? Relevance. Do the writers address each concern? Do they try to give counter arguments? Are they addressing the concern? Are they using substantial evidence? Right? No bias. Are the evidence credible enough? Does it not show self-interest? Like, for example, if the article is supporting smoking, and this article is showing evidence from a survey conducted by Philip Morris Company. Now, that shows bias because the survey or the evidence that was being used was from a survey conducted by a private company that produces tobacco products or cigarettes. So there must be no bias. And lastly, specificity. It must be specific. It must show dates. It must show numbers, percentages. All right. So let's take a look at the point of view of the first source. It is entitled "The Case Against Banning Chocolate Milk." So the side of KJ Dell'Antonia is opposing. So she doesn't agree about banning chocolate. So why? Of course, you've made your reading. And I highlighted this part from the passage. But what I suggest you to do is to try to use your own words when trying to restate them. So this paragraph is basically talking about Penny McConnell. So this is one argument that KG Dell'Antonia tried to point out, that Penny McConnell from Fairfax County Schools said that banning chocolate milk is not really teaching the value of thinking independently to young kids. Now that is a good evidence. It's showing authority because Mrs. McConnell here, we don't know, but she's working for Fairfax County Schools. The problem is that we don't know what position she's doing. What is she doing, right? So there. It's kind of crazy though, because it's paradoxical. It's somehow a strength and somehow a weakness. Another thing is that if they could have indicated how long Penny McConnell has been working for Fairfax County Schools, this argument could be good because we can use her experience, and it makes a better authority and it makes it a good evidence or a good argument, right? So there you go. Another argument that KJ Dell'Antonia was using is that okay, let me just use this. Okay, the survey conducted by a milk company shows that 84% of parents are in favor of having chocolate milk served in their children's schools. Now, this is a very weak evidence. Why? Because, like what I said, it's full of bias. I mean, it's conducted by a milk company. All right, an independent. I mean, a private company. It may have a conflict of interest regarding this issue. So it's not a good survey. Plus, it's not specific. Which area? What company? So it's not a very good evidence. It's incomplete. Another argument from KJ Dell'Antonia. Ms. McConnell tried to do a workaround by asking her dairy suppliers to find a way where chocolate milk will be served with a reduced number of calories, but still higher than what the regular milk in her school has. Yeah, they tried to address the concern that, there's a possible way to reduce the number of calories, but it's still higher. So the writer is not good in establishing her argument. Well, I think KJ, I don't know, KJ Dell, I assume maybe is a girl. I don't know, but yeah, KJ. Um, so she's not really good in establishing her arguments because she's trying to point out the flaws. All right, that even though she's against banning chocolate milk, she's still pointing out that chocolate milk is still higher number of calories, which makes her argument very weak. Okay, and lastly, or I think I listed 4 or 5. 4 for KJ. Banning is not the answer to this issue of obesity, but the solution lies to how parents teach their children self-control and discipline by at home by giving them trust to make independent decisions. Now, I consider this a strength because he pointed out she pointed out a first-hand experience from her friend. It's not that strong because it's not substantiated by facts, or a certain study or a research, which somehow might be a very good way to handle this. So KJ Dell'Antonia, no, I think with that, just reading the first source, I know already that the second source might have a better argument. And that's what I will discuss in my essay. And I'm going to show it to you later on. And you will have to do it, not me. Okay? I'm just giving you a way on how to approach essays in your GED and what's the proper way in planning. Okay? So what I did was just to do this rundown and do a quick list. You can do this. I just made it a lot so detailed. You can take a screenshot or you can pause your screen so that you can read all the details that I've included. So what other factors to consider? Carbs, like what I said. Who are the writers? Who is KJ Dell'Antonia? We do not know. But we know that in source 2, the writer has a PhD, and she's a director of school and community initiatives at the Root Center for Food Policy and Obesity at Yale University. That itself makes the writer of the second source more that gives her more authority to talk about this subject matter. And what is her side? She's supporting the banning of chocolate milk in schools. So let's take a look at her arguments. She said that companies are claiming that children won't consume regular milk and they would need to increase the sugar content of chocolate milk to encourage having breakfast. Now, it is really good because she made use of research that is done by a credible source. What are these sources? Root Center Research, in a journal, Pediatrics, in December 2000. It's very specific. What else? Um, there, um, another source here she included. Okay. It's really good. She's giving very specific uh, details here. All right. And another argument that she did, flavored milk, oh sorry, flavored milk does not contain the same nutrients that regular milk has. There are some chemicals that may harm human body included in the former, in the chocolate milk. So take a look at this. They made data. They tried to indicate data from USDA, from American Heart Association, which is really good. They even included numbers, like how many grams should a child, how many grams of sugar is the proper intake of or the limit for a child attending school, you know. So this one you should highlight them, and that's what you should write on your essay. Discuss the strength and weaknesses. So as you can see, you know, I'm not gonna stay long here and discuss it in detail, but I want you to read this, try to pause the screen and take a look at how I highlight the weaknesses and strength. Now I want to discuss to you, okay, you can pause there and there. So now let's take a look. What approach should you do? So how many words should you write? Write at least 300 words. How many paragraphs? I suggest that the best approach to write this essay is to write a 4-paragraph essay. Okay, 4-paragraph essay. So what should you put on your first paragraph? It's your introduction. What should be included there? What are the thesis statement of both sides? Who are the writers? What publishing publishing company or a newspaper or magazine or the source of the article? All right, just include it there, just an introduction of what we're trying to talk about. You might even have a hint which one has a better argument, you know, just to encourage, just to give a proper introduction. Okay, now, and also write what you will do. What will you do? So sorry, I'm writing. For you might be noticing I'm just writing entries here. I'm not really writing some sentences. You know, I'm just writing an entries or bullets. Okay, so you can write your purpose. What will you do? You know. Well, this essay will weigh and analyze both point of views and check the validity of their evidences and their arguments. So that's what you can also use to close your first paragraph. About your second paragraph, focus on source one. Try to give a summary, but not copy the words, not copy the exact entries in source one, but just give a summary, like how I restated um, each argument. So restate, all right, but don't focus on this. And also discuss evidences. Use carbs, okay? Use carbs, all right? And of course, the third paragraph, you just have to do the same thing, but it's going to be for source two. So you just have to do that. You do the same thing. And how about our conclusion? Oh, okay, the fourth paragraph, let's do conclusion. What should you write here? Sorry about that. Okay, so for conclusion, so what should you write here? For conclusion, it's your final statement. So which one has a better argument? Why? Alright? So it's just a restatement of your reasons why this one has a better argument. It's your choice. That's it. It's a very simple way to approach it. Of course, there are many ways on how to approach the extended response, but this is the simplest way and the easiest way. Now, go ahead and write your essays. Now, I suggest if you have completed your essay, if you want to post it on the comment section, then go ahead and let's go ahead and discuss how you approach it and appreciate your work. All right. Now, I hope that I have helped you with your GED reasoning through language arts test. I hope that I was able to enlighten you and help you a bit. If you have some comments and suggestions, just write down on the comment section. Don't forget to check out other videos on our channel. Also, try to visit our Facebook page. That's Phuket PALS, facebook.com/Phuket PALS. And we do offer programs not only focus on GED, and try to check us out. All right, thank you for your time and have a nice day.